Or maybe he was both. Samson was in the bedroom behind her now. Neither of them drew a weapon. Not that they trusted the boy for a second. Bree had a hand on her piece. "Tell me what you know about this," she said. She and Samson approached the window from opposite angles. Bree moved in first. She had to duck her head to get inside the dormer alcove. From here she could see that the boy had his feet on a lip of decorative brickwork outside. Beneath that was the roof of the back porch and a small November-dead garden maybe 10 feet below.
"No further, or I run away. I can run very fast. You'll never catch me."
"Okay. Let me get this out of the way, though." The old rope and pulley window sash took some coaxing, but finally Bree forced it up, about 6 inches. "What are you doing out there?" she asked.
"I know how it happened. They killed a girl and boy in this very room. The others down the hall."
His accent was African. Nigerian was Bree's guess. "How do you know so much?" she asked. "Why should I believe you?"
"I am the lookout, but soon they will make me go with them to kill others."
He looked past Bree and Samson to the scene inside.
"I do not want to do this. Please, I am Catholic."
"It's all right," Bree told him. "You don't have to hurt anyone. I'm Catholic too. Why don't you come down from there and we can—"
"No!"
He took a hand off again, threatening to jump and run.
"Don't try no tricks on me."
"Okay. Okay." Bree held up her hands, palms out. Then she knelt down a little closer. "Just talk to me. Tell me more. What's your name?"
"Benjamin."
"Benjamin, do you know anything about a man they call the Tiger? Was he here?" Alex had told her about the Tiger during their phone call. Supposedly the killer was in Africa now, but maybe Alex's information was wrong. The boy nodded slowly.
"I know, yes. More than one, though. Not just one tiger."
That certainly stunned Bree, and she assumed it would surprise the hell out of Alex, too. "Many men are called the Tiger?" she asked. "You're sure about that?" Another nod from the boy. "Here in Washington?"
"Yes, maybe 2 or 3.
"And in Nigeria?"
"Yes."
"How many tigers, Benjamin? Do you know?"
"They do not tell me, but there are many. Bosses of gangs are all tigers."
Bree looked over her shoulder at Samson, then back again at the boy. "Benjamin, do you want to hear a secret?" The question seemed to confuse him. His eyes went from side to side. He looked down again, checking his escape route. And when he did that, Bree moved, fast, much faster than Benjamin thought she could. Chapter 65. She reached in through the bars and got her hand around the lookout's skinny wrist. "Samson, go!"
"Let go of me!"
the boy yelled at her. He tried to step away, and his weight wrenched her arm against the bar. There was no leverage from this angle. She could only try to ignore the pain and hold on until Samson got to the boy from below. "Hurry, John! I'm losing him!" "Benjamin, we can keep you safe. You need to come with us," he screamed at her.
"No fucking bitch! You lied to me!"
His transformation was startling. The scared eyes had gone fierce. He clawed at her hand and drew blood. Had he lied to her? Was he one of the killers? Finally, Bree could hear Samson's feet pounding somewhere outside. "Faster, John!" Just when she thought her arm might break, the kid twisted free. He dropped to the porch roof and all but bounced another 8 feet to the ground. 2 quick strides, and then he was scrambling up a small ash tree, barely big enough to support his weight, much less an adult's. Just as Samson came running around the back, the boy flipped sideways over the top of a high cedar fence into a service alley beyond. Seconds later, Bree came out the front door. There was no gate to the alley. They had to sprint back through the house, out another door, and around the block, just to find out what they already knew. The boy named Benjamin was long gone. The so-called lookout for the murders had gotten away from them. 5 minutes later, they had an APB out, but Bree wasn't holding her breath. Her thoughts had already turned to Alex and how to reach out to him. He needs to know about this, like last week. Only I don't know how to reach him. I don't even know where he is now. Chapter 66. This part of Africa wasn't recommended for backpacking or camera safaris. The yowl of hyenas was a constant reminder of where I was now. So were the road signs that said things like, "Warning, lions, crocodiles." Getting out of Sierra Leone and back to Nigeria was proving to be even more complicated than I had expected, and dangerous, too. Treacherous at almost any curve. Like right now. 2 military-issue jeeps sat nose-to-nose across the road, blocking our way. This was no ordinary border crossing, though. We were less than an hour outside Kuitu. "Are these guys actually government?" I asked Moses. "Any way to tell?" He shrugged and shifted uncomfortably on the seat of the drifter.
Could be IUF.
There were 6 of them by my count, all wearing a mix of fatigues and street clothes and the familiar flip-flops. All of them were armed, including a mounted gunner in the back of one of the jeeps. A lanky guy in a maroon beret came striding over to my window. His eyes were bloodshot, like he might have been stoned. He raised his rifle with one arm and held out the other hand.
Papers?
I played it cool for now and showed him the police clearance and my passport. He barely looked at them.
$50 to pay for your visa.
Whether these men were government officers or not, I knew right then that this was grift, pure and simple. A hold-up. I raised my gaze and looked into his red eyes. "I just spoke with the U.S. Embassy in Freetown this morning. Deputy Ambassador Sassi assured me himself that my papers were in good order. So what's the problem here?" He stared back hard at me, but I didn't flinch. 2 of the other guards started over from the other side of the road, but he held up a palm to save them the trouble.
Still, it is 10 for the passenger. 20 if it's in Leones.
Somehow, we both knew I'd pay that one. I didn't want to push my luck. I gave him 2 American 5s, and we were on our way. To the next roadblock, anyway. We hit 4 of them before the actual border crossing. Each rite of passage went about the same. It got easier as we went, cheaper anyway, and by the time we finally crossed at Bow Waterside to Liberia, I'd paid out only another $15 or so. The precious thing we did lose was time. We didn't get into Monrovia until after dark, and with no guarantee of supplies east of there, we had to spend the night. I worried through the night and didn't sleep very well. We were safe so far, but the speed we were traveling was no tiger's pace. He was getting away again. Chapter 67. We drove all the next day and into the second night, alternating at the wheel, trying to make up time. As we traveled, Moses told me that he was representative of most people here, not the RUF, and certainly not the Tiger and his murderous gang.
There are many good people in Africa, sir, and no one to help them fight back against the devils.
Less than half an hour east of Monrovia, we passed the last billboard and radio tower and entered dense rainforest that went on for hours. Sometimes it opened up into clear-cut fields with stumps like grave markers for miles in every direction. Mostly, though, the road was a tunnel of bamboo, palm, mahogany, and vine-choked trees such as I'd never seen before, with leaves and low scrub slapping and slathering the sides of the truck as we pushed through. Late in the afternoon, we were near the coast, driving through tidal flats and then wide swaths of open grassland that were the antithesis of the jungle we'd just left. I saw a huge colony of flamingo around sunset, thousands and thousands of stunningly beautiful birds, an incongruous sea of pink in the orangish light. Finally, we had to stop for the evening. We were both too tired to drive. As I drifted off to sleep, I wondered how many fathers got to tell their kids they'd spend a night in a real African jungle. Chapter 68. I woke up some hours later. Moses was already laying out breakfast on the tailgate of the drifter. Canned sausages, a couple of bruised tomatoes, and a 2-liter jug of water to sip from. "Looks good," I said. "Thank you, Moses."
There is a river over there if you wish to wash up.
He pointed with his chin to the opposite side of the road. I noticed his shirt was soaking wet.
It is not far.
I bushwhacked with my arms, skirting a huge knot of thorny scrub the way Moses had obviously done before me. About 25 yards in, the brush opened up, and I came out onto a mud and gravel bank. The river itself was a wide, murky green piece of glass. I could barely tell it was moving. I took a step toward the water and sank up to my ankle in mud. When I pulled back, the mud sucked the shoe right off my foot. Shit. I'd wanted to clean myself up, not get filthier. I looked up and down the bank, wondering where Moses had gone to wash. First, I needed my shoe back, though. I reached down into the guck and felt around. It was actually nice and cool down there. Suddenly, the water in front of me boiled up. Something rough, like a huge log, came to the surface very, very quickly. And then I saw that it was a full-blown, honest-to-God crocodile. Its black eyes were set on me. Breakfast was on the table. Shit, shit, shit. Goodbye, shoe. Goodbye, leg or arm. I stepped back ever so slowly. So far, the croc showed just a layer of tiled skin at the water's surface. I could see the bulge of its snout. The great beast's eyes didn't leave me for a second. Never taking a breath, I kept inching backward. On the next step, though, my foot turned in the mud. I fell. Like it had received a cue, the crocodile sprang forward. 9, 10, maybe as much as 12 feet long, it surged out of the water, slashing in and out of an S shape as it leapt straight at me. I tried to pull in my legs, if only to postpone the inevitable savage bite. How could this have happened? Everyone had been right. I shouldn't have come to Africa. Suddenly, a shot exploded behind me. Then a second shot. The huge croc let out a strange, high-pitched noise that was part scream, part gasp. It reared up off its front legs, then smacked back down into the mud. I could see a red ooze on the side of its head. It thrashed once more, then rapidly backed away into the river and disappeared. I turned to see Moses standing behind me. He was holding the Beretta.
I am so sorry, sir. I meant to say that you should take this with you, just in case.
Chapter 69. Africa. Was there anywhere in the world like it? I didn't think so. We reached Porto Novo the next day and decided it would be best if I took the bus from there to Lagos. A man stood outside the public toilet at the bus station. He tried to get me to pay to enter, until I told him I would pee on his shoes first. He laughed and stepped away. Then Moses and I parted, and he drove off proudly in his truck. I never found out whether he was a good Samaritan or an opportunist, though my nature favored the former. I will always think of Moses as my first friend in Africa. Back at the hotel in Lagos, I showered off 3 days' worth of dust, sweat, and blood. I looked at my crooked nose in the bathroom mirror. Alex, you are a piece of work. Finally, I plopped down on the bed to call home. I started with a call to Bree's cell this time. It was good just to hear her voice again, but the warm hellos between us were quick. She had news that couldn't wait. About a new murder on 18th Street, and about the young boy she'd found there and what he'd said. There was more than one tiger. Flaherty had told me the same thing, but I was pretty sure I was looking for one killer. I could feel it in my gut. Bree countered, "If this boy is for real, it's the closest thing we've got to inside information. He was in the gang, Alex." You could be doing just as much damage control in D.C., maybe more. Come home.